gyms, early 2000s. Who are the people there? Like
People who did BCom. So we were the ones who were there.
No, there was a different perception that if you went to the gym, then people thought, so in the north you say Gunda Mawali, like you're a gangsterish person or you're someone who is not focused towards studies or a career.
I feel like in the basement gym, I don't think in a radius of a kilometer you would see a woman.
Yeah, no.
So gym was an intimidating space even for men. 20% men were intimidated of going into the gym and 16% of women were intimidated of going to the gym.
So what do you think changed?
There were two trends happening within India which I think contributes to this. So one is that
Okay, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about gyms.
Yes.
Let's travel back in time. Early 2000s. What comes to mind? What kind of gyms were there?
A lot. I've spent a lot of time in these places. A basement,
Yes.
lot of people,
No light.
very dim light, loud Bollywood music,
strong smells.
strong smell, a lot of sweat thrown around, grunts,
Posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Different, mostly Western bodybuilders.
Mostly Western. You would not find, except for that one photo of the gym instructor who had won once.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be
Participated
one
in Mr. India.
in Mr. India. So that was one. But it was mostly, Ronnie Coleman, Schwarzenegger, Jay Cutler, all of them.
And then the equipment is like sort of, it's like garage equipment, right?
Yeah,
Rusted.
Paint coming off.
It was metal. You could actually smell the metal out of your hands. Yeah. But you spent actually a lot of time with bodily fluids being around.
And
Sounds
who
bad.
are the people there? Like, I remember I wasn't a gym person.
Yeah.
And it was very clear. Demarcation was there. Who's the person who would go to the gym?
The gym was also seen, I think, slightly as a space where, people who want to just break into this bodybuilding, who are not serious with life.
Not serious with career, not serious with education.
Yeah.
Right?
People who did BCom. So we were the ones who were there.
No, there was a different perception that if you went to the gym, then people thought that, either you're like so in the north you say Gunda Mawali, like you're a gangsterish person or you're someone who is not focused towards studies or a career.
Sports itself was like for the people who weren't good.
Oh, yeah. And then these two never merged, right?
Correct.
Sports people were told, don't go to the gym, you'll become bulky or whatever.
In my head, inside the sports bracket itself, activity bracket, sports was higher than the gym.
I also think it was also the time where sports was seen as nation building, community and stuff. Gym was seen as vanity. I think that was
Gym
something.
was in vanity,
You're
true.
doing something for yourself and building, but it's not
the contributing.
sport.
So, because you said that sports was seen as bottom, now gyms are very different,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. So something has changed, right?
Yeah,
So what
it
do you
is.
think of gym when I say gym, what comes to
Oh,
your
really?
head?
Shiny wooden floor.
Nice carpeted, rubberized flooring.
Yeah.
Lots of light.
Colorful plates like green, blue,
Yeah.
10 kg is that is
The small fridge at the back with all kinds of electrolytes and
although and even the treadmills look futuristic.
Yeah, like all the
it's-
equipment looks like
equipment looks
Yeah,
futuristic.
yeah.
It looks like you'll have to stand for a moment and think what to do.
and you can see the gym from the road, right?
Oh yeah,
It's visible.
It's public display. It's like, yes, I'm getting fit. Yeah.
And who are the people who are going there? That's again a big shift. I feel like in the basement gym, I don't think in a radius of a kilometer you would see a woman.
Yeah, no. In all my years of basement and smaller gyms, I think only once did I see a woman actually come and work out. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
it was not
totally.
a space
And if
for.
a woman would come and work out, the rest of the gym would be watching that woman, and so she probably wouldn't
Would
feel like
not.
coming back the next time.
Yeah,
I was intimidated to go to a gym back then because I was this scrawny kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your body,
as
if
soon
you
as
didn't
I-
have a body, then you'd feel
Yeah,
strange
you
in a gym.
feel judged all the
Yeah,
time by
yeah.
the instructor.
Your
But
gy-
it's changed so dramatically now.
It has.
So we sent Kailash to meet Shwetambari Shetty. Shwetambari Shetty is a cult figure in the fitness world, and unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you know who she is. But unless you don't know, she is one of the most recognizable faces in the fitness industry. She's an entrepreneur. She started her own gym. She is very, very popular in many circles now. So Kailash wanted to go and speak to her. So here is what she had to say about how the gym has changed over the last decade.
Working out in a gym full of men, right?
Yeah.
Take us through that transition, right?
Yeah.
How the gym space has changed.
Personally, the initial thing was I was a little intimidated because you barely see any women. But then when I started enjoying what it was doing to me, and because I had my support, my friend with me, it was very easy to kind of transition into being in that gym space because I was always in the studio teaching dance and fitness and all of that, right? But today, okay, cut to, that was that phase when I was probably one or maybe we were two women in a gym of like 20, 30 men. Today, in my third space, if you see a typical class, okay, if there are 20 people in a class, out of that 16 are women.
Oh, wow. That's
And
nice.
4 are men, right? And sometimes there's one man and like 12 women. And I have seen this transition. I honestly don't know how it's happened, but I feel like social media has a big role to play because a lot of us, me and a lot of other women fitness enthusiasts out there have come on social media, constantly spoken about what training and strength training has done for them. And I feel that has brought out a lot of women. So gym was an intimidating space even for men. And a study that we actually went through recently said that 20% men were intimidated of going into the gym and 16% of women were intimidated of going to the gym.
That is an interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right? But women actually love group classes.
Okay.
Right? If you send them to a typical gym with a lot of machines and a lot of men around, they may not feel super comfortable unless they have a partner with them. But what we noticed, the change that massively made a difference, especially in India or in Bangalore, let me be very precise, was group fitness.
What else has changed within the gym, right? For the longest time,
Yeah.
you know, for me as a kid growing up, the gym meant you either do bench press or arm curls. But now it's changing. What has changed within the gym, both the exercises and the kind of people who are coming in?
Yeah. Just the exercise format itself has changed, right?
Okay.
Bench press, what you did is important and we're still continuing to do it.
Okay.
But the workout, like it's so much variety now. So much variety. And that's because exercise physiology has evolved. So we know more, we're learning more every year, we're being, taught more and etc. So what's happening inside this space now is very different from what you'd see in a typical gym. Yeah.
There you heard it, folks, from Shweta, the well-informed visionary of the fitness industry.
So that was some great insight about what happened inside the gym over the last decade. Rahul, I've been wondering, what has changed the gym culture in the last decade? What has shifted it?
So we've talked about this in our earlier episodes, but there were two trends happening within India which I think contributes to this. So one is that there's a significant shift in disposable income for younger people who are in the first 10 years of their work life. It's because of changing salary, access to credit cards, EMIs, loans.
Right.
In fact, now you can get an EMI for a gym membership.
Yeah.
The second shift, which we've also talked about, is that digital technology really reshapes how people consume and access. So, both from influencers online, from being able to buy things like, gym attire, equipment or home equipment, protein shakes. And then, of course, the third most important thing, which is you can share your own, like a lot of gym going is actually social media because you post your photos, talk to people. So I think these two kind of help build what we're talking about, a culture around going to the gym, which is not just limited to segregated by gender, by what kind of background the person's from.
I can clearly remember the time when in our conversation here, the gym moved from the basement to the first floor, right? So there were the Gold Gym, the Talwalkars, who were the slightly more, upmarket, better looking spaces, which was targeting at these same people with EMI options and annual memberships. But the model of the gym hadn't changed.
No.
The model was still the same, that you will join the gym. The instructor is still the same fellows who probably don't care too much about you as the person who's coming in.
Yeah.
As soon as you pay that money, there isn't much attention at you.
Yeah.
Right? They were happy to have equipment only for 10% of the membership.
Because I think they were not trainers at all. I think at that point of time, what changed from the basement to the first floor is also the trainer was actually the caretaker who would lock the gym and stuff. All locked into one role. Which now in the first floor with Gold's Gym and all, you had a receptionist, a person who would come and actually help you with the exercises, give you. So
someone who's just maintaining and cleaning the equipment.
So I think along with the brands itself coming, because remember, Gold's Gym is a huge brand, and with Schwarzenegger, being around it, it was something which was big. So I think that brought in this kind of system, which I think changed.
But somehow it didn't still feel like it was very accessible. It was
still the very serious gym goer was there. So now the serious gym goer could be cosmopolitan urban woman, but you have to be a serious gym goer. So one thing I was thinking, you said how the gym went from the basement to the first floor. Now I know you notice gyms are almost always in the top floor of buildings. And the thing I find very distinct is that before, you go, you gym, you come back. Now the space is almost like a mall, right? Today I want to do this activity, I'll go do this. Tomorrow I want to do activity. One day I'm just there sort of chit-chatting in the gym, right? So it's become like it feels to me like much more like a hangout.
There's like a hair salon there. There's also like a smoothie bar.
There's a smoothie bar.
Yes. It is, I think, becoming like a mall where, imagine a mall is where you enter, fancy lights, clean floors, and you have all the stores. The gym is exactly like that. You enter.
Very welcoming space.
Very welcoming space. You can either go to the sauna, you can go lift weight, or you can go dance, you can do group. It's literally become a mall, and it's gone all the way up to the...
But in some sense, I am happy that somebody's actually at least reached there, right?
Yeah.
For a country where we were not active, I'm happy with the fact that somebody is...
Yeah, the gym has become a little more acceptable place in society, that this is a place
not only acceptable, I feel like a gym is actually an important place. Like if you're new in a city, gym is a kind of space where you can meet people, connect with people, and then through social media build up your more networks.
It's moved rapidly from not acceptable to acceptable to an expectation almost. Whereas you say that I go to the gym, and that's like something that you'll announce. You want everybody to know that you go there.
So, one way of thinking about it is like, what would be like average gym membership in a good gym today?
With the advent of cult memberships, it is in the region of, it's again city dependent, but in Bangalore, it would be around 10 to 12,000 for a year.
For a year.
But in Mumbai, it might be like 20 plus. So it also depends on...
So even in a place like Bangalore, it's like 750 to 1,000 rupees a month. Which if you look at it closely, maybe like only people who are working in companies, right? Or people who have parents who are supporting them are the only people who would be ready to invest that much.
So access is still a... It has changed in some ways, but it has also made it a little...
I think access... So there was a time, at least in the basement gym, I think what was there were people from men of a different class going to the gym, or men from different classes coming into the gym, and you wouldn't find women there. Now you have men and women of a certain class able to access, but the intermingling of the class, I don't think is happening in the gym as how it used to in the basement. The gender question has changed.
In fact, one of the other changes I've seen is, before gym instructors were definitely from a more working class. Today, because, Arvind, you also have been there. Even the gym instructors are people who might have done corporate work before, who might have got a very high level education degree and become. So even that place, I'm seeing a change in the kind of background.
That happened around that CrossFit running era where many people left their IT jobs and decided that this is what they wanted to do.
Will you unpack what do you mean by CrossFit movement?
Between the Gold's Gym and now, there is the CrossFit movement, which came in, let's say, around 2010. It started in 2000 in the US, came to India around 2009-10. And that brought in this culture of community workout. CrossFit is a kind of a workout which was developed in the US, and it had basically different kinds of workouts built in, and it was a group activity. You had a bunch of people coming in, there was an instructor, they put a board up with a bunch of workouts, and it was called WOD, Workout of the Day.
So it made it social, like working out was a social thing.
It was a community activity suddenly.
And not so complicated in terms of equipment.
I remember this for myself as well, I was hesitant to pick up equipment. I was happier doing push-ups, where you don't necessarily have to pick a dumbbell up. But CrossFit in some level, I think, made it comfortable for people to say that, okay, I can use equipment. And they made that like a group phenomenon. So you'll have like enough space there, like open area in the class where everybody had like a bunch of equipment that they would use in
Yeah.
their
So for CrossFit, you now need like bigger open spaces in gyms.
Yeah. So we moved away from that model where there were multiple
Stations
things
of-
clustering the space to an open space with all the equipment in the side where people could actually work out in the center.
Yeah.
And that opened, I think, the gym space also for other things to happen. Like the
Yeah.
yoga class was a separate entity.
Yeah,
The
the yoga
Zumba
and the gym
workout-
would never mix because
Yeah.
yoga also would have people.
Was the opposite of the gym.
Yeah,
So like people who
would
can't
not-
work out.
Yeah, it was now that has mixed.
Yeah. So at some level, CrossFit became its own thing. Then there were the runners, there were the
Yeah.
cyclists, there were Zumba people, there was yoga. But now what has happened is all of that has come into another space. So that's the next evolution.
Right.
That's a multi sort of activity space.
Exactly.
Right. I think it's shifting from just bodybuilding towards wellness, right? It's a shift which has, I think, in the past at least few years,
Yeah.
especially like you said with digital media and social media coming in. So it's not just going to the gym to lift, right? There is a bit of exhibition on social media,
Totally.
but it is also, I think, a show of discipline,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can do this in
Yeah.
my life. I'm doing this, so I'm disciplined.
In fact, I'll quickly have a plug. So you remember in the episode when we talked about running,
Uh-huh.
running had a similar story, right? In the 2000s, it came from the US. In 2010, it was taken up as not just running for the sake of running, but running in building discipline, running in sort of having goals and moving towards it. And, we started seeing how a lot of people who are otherwise busy corporate workers started finding running as a good complementary activity to the very busy work life.
Yeah, and social media made that jump again around
Right.
the same time. I think it happened to gyms and running, cycling, everything, where people were doing these activities not just to do those activities, but also to kind of identify themselves as a part of a community, it's part of a
Right.
tribe. So, like, I'm a runner. At the finish line, I've taken a picture and I've posted it on.
So how do you think it can improve? How is it that we can achieve a place where everybody can go to a gym, which has now become a good place? Like,
Yeah, so there are multiple questions in my head. One is access, of course. So, parks have gym spaces these days.
right,
So-
BBMP also builds those open gyms which are there.
Yeah, so that is a great model. I mean, if that can kind of, proliferate a little more.
So you like bring back Venice Beach from California. Everybody is in open air, working out like that.
Yeah, but at some level, the open areas are also not that accessible these days, right? So the gym goers who entered the gym as their first sort of entry into an active space have not moved into other sports so
Right.
much. That has kind of stayed, which is a bother for me because I feel like just a single activity somehow for me doesn't feel like it's the right way to go about it. So we've covered a lot today. So we got the gym from the basement to the first floor to the top floor, right? And we've talked about a lot of aspects of who's going there, what
How
happened.
behaviors have changed around the gym.
Yeah, how women have entered and there are more women in the gym.
Exactly, and the whole idea of social media, right? But to me, the access is still a big question. We'd like to know how was your experience of the gym and how can we get more people to the gym?
Comment below, follow our page and keep training.
And I hope you're listening to all our episodes. Keep listening to Radio Azim Premji University. Bye-bye and see you all again.
What I'm going to be telling now is a real life incident. The year is 2007. The place, Mysore. I was studying in Mahajanas College, one of the few colleges which had a gym. And we had a trainer named Anthony Moses. And Anthony Moses suddenly one day got an idea to register both of us for the weightlifting competition. Attire. So I folded my underwear to look like a posing attire and then went to the venue, lathered myself up with coconut oil and entered the room which said 65 to 70 kgs category. The problem was I entered there, everybody else was around 5 feet tall and 3 feet wide. I was 6 feet tall, maybe about half feet wide. And we were about 5 people who looked like real bodybuilders and I looked like a bamboo shaft on stage. And then the music started. I had 90 seconds. This was my shot at fame. I started posing. The lights were blinding me, but one voice really hit home. From the crowd, a cheerleader shouted, "Hey, manigo guta madkonbaro!"